Okay, I guess this will do, hopefully, right? Okay. Well, let's continue where I left off yesterday. On the way back from the office, I was thinking a little bit what to do about a separator delimiter in a CSV file that has more than one character, and I guess I'm going to use some indicator cursor member variable, a little bit like the Knut Morris Pratt search pattern algorithm, and I guess I can sort of get away with that. Okay. So the last activity and task was to read the settings from the job file. I didn't complete that one, so let's just continue with that. Another idea is that the delimiter probably isn't allowed to contain any parentheses. Quotation marks. Oh, I'm like, is it parentheses? Probably. I guess I'm using the wrong word here. Quotation marks, of course. Yes, of course, I'm referring to the quotation marks. Okay, it needs to be set. It needs to contain more than more than 0 characters. How do you do that in Java? Don't want to have some regex getting into the way here. Okay. The recommendation is to use index of. At this point, I guess I still have the string builder, right? So maybe I do this just locally using the string builder. Because once I have the full string, there is no reason to keep the string builder. Then I can construct the actual string and keep it for the rest of the execution of the program. I guess just instantiating it leaves me with an empty string, hopefully. Because it's a difference if it is empty from never entering into here. So I think I do not have to check it another time. Okay, I guess this is more elegant. So I don't have to deal with this string builder outside here and can continue with the actual string. Is this checking for a character? Probably. Then let's do it like this. So this would be invalid as well. Obviously, because that's used as part of the structural of the CSV format structure, right? And I probably need to check for okay, just as a reminder, maybe I will end up with a bunch of checks here. But other than that, I want to support delimiters with more than one character. Now ignore first line is going to be a Boolean. I don't know if I should use like a string builder here. And a loop. Or maybe I should have used another loop, right? Just to avoid this kind of checking on every single element. But okay, whatever. This is why usually I prefer attributes because they're a little bit easier to access here, right? And I don't need to read subnodes like text nodes and stuff. Okay. I need to put a not in here, a negation. Right. So if it is true or any other if it is false, the true becomes the true check of equals becomes a false, and if it's any other number, text, or whatever, if I have in true in the input data in the job file, then the result will be false and it will be negated to true. So it's just in reverse, but like I'm usually checking for false here. I mean, another thing is I have an empty string, but that's maybe something to I want to check to make, like, just to avoid confusion and unexpected behavior. I mean, then the question is if people use yes or no or whatever, but like the point is whatever is set, if it is set to something that could resemble some, you know, yes, no, like there are many options in terms of what type of text could be entered there. So I'm checking to the very narrow option of false here, and everything else, be it any text stuff, that is supposed to evaluate a little bit like checking for integers and 0 in C and C++. Here I'm also not checking if this was set twice. It doesn't matter. Hopefully, shouldn't matter. Okay. Root tag name. I guess better give it some good name here. Could have copied that right away. Encapsulation. Okay. This could work the same. The same like reading the delimiter. Oh, hi. Hi there. Should I call you by your new name, like, or leave? Is that Can I continue calling you Leaf? Your YouTube channel name didn't change. Technically in the URL, just the display name, I guess. Yes, or maybe like, I mean, I don't know if you can change the name of the YouTube channel. They have different naming schemes. There's like the technical channel name if you have a channel. If you only have an account, it's different then again. But I changed mine. I now have S. Kreuzer, and before it was with a number because that was already taken for some reason some time ago, but apparently somebody got his channel deleted or whatever, or maybe they, I don't know. I guess maybe it had to do with the Gmail name, and now it's decoupled again. Okay. I mean, I don't know about the meme, so I better continue calling you Leaf. I just have to check if, let me see if I think there's, the last message is, oh, okay. Like the general problem is that I guess I have to make the window smaller, otherwise some of the messages will be cut off. And we want to read everything, of course, be able to read everything. Oh my. Like this, and then a little bit. I hope it will scroll right. Who knows? Oh, still one more missing. And I hope it just keeps scrolling now. Just because the restream for some reason is not able to connect to the YouTube chat, and that's because it's some weird, another weird, oh my. Google services. They don't work properly anymore. If they ever did, sort of, kind of. I mean, they keep mixing everything up, and then. Oh, okay. Let's just leave it like this. Okay. Okay. And we have the root element name. Wait, what about the encapsulation? Oh, okay, this is the first setting. Then we have the encapsulation element name. I mean, of course, this could also be sort of put into a method or something. On the other hand, I'm a little bit hesitant to use methods for everything because these are indeed different settings, and if you want to add some more special checks for each of these settings, then of course it's better if they have their own code blocks, I guess. Encapsulation. Element name, not tag name. I changed the name of it. Okay, but other than that, the system or approach is the same. Need to check. If I try to remember how it is possible to change the YouTube channel name, I mean, you have a channel too, right, with videos on it. If it is just an account, I don't know if that works, but in the depth of their profile settings and account settings, there is one. I think at one point you were able or still are able to request a certain URL name for the YouTube channel, except it's already taken. Yeah, but I think yours was leave BD, I think, or something. Maybe that's. And that is still your URL name, right, for your channel. So your name here is just the display name, I guess. So that you can have like a shorter name in the URL for easier referencing, and have your full display name, for example, your full name. No, I don't remember the BD. I just looked it up yesterday. Yeah, because here there's the option to go to channel for everybody who's in chat. Usually that's by click on the avatar or profile, but YouTube does it differently. There's the go to channel option. And that most likely probably will lead to the channel with the leave URL still, because that's how I saw the BD. So it didn't rename everything just because you changed your display name, I assume, because that might also kill all the references to your channel that are spread on some websites. So that's why they probably kept that separate, which is a good idea in general, I guess. Maybe it has some downsides, but okay. Then we have the row element name. Today it's sort of like much easier to do some programming, probably because yesterday I needed to get a little bit accustomed or warm again with the streaming stuff, and now I also had some more time at the bus or in the train thinking about how to continue. I mean, I was a little bit didn't arrive at a grand master plan of how to do the entire parser, but at least for the next immediate steps, I got some ideas how to continue. Shouldn't be too bad, right? Row. Did I miss something? Maybe, but who knows? It says you're eligible for a custom URL. Claim it here. Oh, okay, okay. Because I think that's what I did as well, like claiming the URL. And I mean, back in the day, that wasn't an option, but that is more like in the last few years. Was added the last few years. But yeah, I don't know if isn't it so if you picked the URL once, you cannot change it anymore. That's what you're saying, right? Because otherwise maybe people keep changing it all the time, and old links would then if somebody changes the URL name to something else, and then the old one is either stays blocked, right, and does some redirect to the new channel URL, that is probably a problem, because all of the names could be taken up by some domain or URL squatters in that in that in that sense. Or the other option is that maybe somebody else might take your old name and then have all the links on a web referencing to his new channel, and then posting stuff that is not related to yours. I guess that is sort of yes, and maybe they discontinued the feature. I mean, that is. So would you only want to get rid of the BD, or I mean, maybe it is already taken, or okay, if you can't even click it, okay, but that was the feature I was using, because before I think I never had the ugly channel URL. I mean, these still technically work always. I mean, I guess every channel has these, but some people who created a new account or like a new channel at some of the time, they only got this one. So sometimes you find channels that only have the strange slash channel and then the long ID, which is hard to remember, of course. I mean, it can be copied, but yeah. I mean, everybody wants to. On Twitch too. I mean, there. Yeah. I mean, it is the most annoying thing if somebody has like an abandoned channel and it is blocked and you cannot claim or take it. I mean, I understand why they do it, because maybe a user gets active again, and then I mean, if you would just lose your channel name or your short URL because you were inactive for a year, because you were abroad or something, right? I mean, that would indeed suck. But on the other hand, if somebody only created it and never used it for anything, if there's no content on it anyway, right, then it's very annoying. This is what happened on WordPress.com. Somebody else has taken it, never posted anything except some example text, and they say I cannot take the account with as Kreuzer. And the problem is WordPress.com also operates Gravatar, so this isn't a service now. I can't use the service with claiming my name for Gravatar to have profile images of mine if commenting on WordPress or Discuss or one of these services. Oh, Twitter. Oh, Twitter is just a pile of junk. They are engaging in comment ghosting or ghost banning, so I abandoned their service. Like I posted a tweet and they didn't publish it. Nobody ever saw it except me if logged in. And the only job Twitter ever has is to publish what I'm tweeting. And if they fail to do so, then I don't need this crap service anymore. I can do my own Twitter and my own RSS, I guess, right? Twitter should always have been just RSS with some social tags or integration in there, maybe linked with OpenID profiles or something like that. That would have been a much better I guess, digital future. But now, yeah, it's the Twitter crap. People like it. I mean, they don't know what messages they never get to see. They don't know what messages of theirs never get published, right? If it deletes their account just because they feel like it. I don't know. This is I don't know. Okay, let's see. Map, how did that work? Is it like this, like the abstract map interface? And I guess the numbers here, these are unique, of course. And they're integers, no play with text here, and the XML element name, formerly tag name, that is something the user can specify arbitrarily. So that would be a string. And I think this is the abstract map interface. How should I call this map? I mean, I could just call it mapping, but this is sort of like column to element name mapping. It's not even a column, maybe it's just data field or something, but whatever. And then new hash map, maybe. Get out of the way, please. Like this. Let's see if it compiles. It should be included already for like other reasons, I assume. Are you a little bit, Leaf, are you a little bit interested in the kind of like streaming or video services? Like yesterday I tried to stream on DLive TV, and today I added it to the restream. They say they are they're in this Steemit universe with DTube and I don't know what else. I mean, they claim this is sort of like blockchain stuff, but I don't think that you can do video streaming with blockchain, because this is like a real... Oh, okay, that's fine. I mean, there's no need to know all of this. I think the compiler is complaining because map takes two objects and int isn't derived from object but like the integral data type, but I think I can easily get away by just using the integer class. Let's see if this satisfies the compiler. Cannot find symbol. Is it because map is... Oh, how is it called? I don't remember. Can't be. This can't be the only map in the entire main program. I mean, I'm using it all the time in many programs, but I simply can't remember. Do I need to include some, to import some generic container class there? I'm relatively sure that this is the correct syntax. Java utility map and hash map. I mean, if the search didn't turn out any specific mention of map except the 2 places where I tried to use it. And then of course it's also missing with the imports, right? Maybe I can undo the integer, that would be cool. I don't want to need extra objects if that's not needed, but oh no, unexpected type. Okay. Maybe this is a general thing of the Java template language construct of generics or whatever it is called. Okay, that's better, obviously. Okay, but the map needs to be filled. Maybe I shouldn't instantiate right there, right? Just do it like the other. If these are all objects and I can use a null, that is sort of cool, I think, because then I don't need an extra bool or boolean or check to just see if it ever entered into this branch here, but only if it is only if it was instantiated, then that is the indication for having been read from the job file. Okay. In here it doesn't work the same as with the other examples, but still, let's just I don't like this. Is in all of my code I mean this is just copied. I also call it tag name, but basically I should probably say element name for reasons of better, like XML vocabulary. Okay. Mapping. Throw exceptions everywhere. That's what I do. Usually I mean it's a little bit, usually it's a little bit problematic to use too much of the exceptions, but in my case I have some nice handling for that in all of my workflow programs, which is then it's sort of better to handle these for an outside engine that calls these individual workflows all the time and then can recognize what went wrong and then decide to continue. The question why I can't write like something like this, title hello, I think you are referring to XPath maybe, right? There's like this special standard or syntax for referring to data and elements and attributes in an XML source, but I think most of the time the XML needs to be loaded into the memory, so that with an object that represents the XML in memory with a document object model internally, that allows you to run several of these XPath expressions and get the result back. and I try to avoid loading XML into memory and do everything with these streaming APIs for XML, and that can get a little bit ugly. This is already a little bit too much, right? I mean, if it gets too much, then like with the other parsers, I do like an implicit parser tree. But yeah, I mean, maybe there could be a version that also reads these paths in a streaming way and not in memory. But then the problem is you never know if at the very end, I mean, you always would need to have to read the entire input, because you never know if at the end there's still another matching result element in there. And also for several of these expressions, you would need to read the source several times, which then isn't good about performance. But okay, you mean something else. I mean in SGML, title hello, and it means the... no, I thought you were about like the path, like something like a path, but like you are referring to more or less omitting the name of the closing tag. Yeah, I mean, also in like HTML5 or 6 or whatever, they try to go down that route. But I mean, you know, people say this is too repetitious and too much to type. But on the other hand, I think it is in there in XML for the reason that maybe the format might break or some bits might flip or something, right? So that you still have a chance for repairing manually if something went wrong. If you have like only these 3 characters, or in JSON only 1 or something, or like CSV, right? If one bit flips with the comma as the separator or delimiter, then your entire table is probably broken. I mean, of course you can, you know, but you don't know anymore if I would receive a CSV file over the network, or load it from an old hard drive or this diskette or something, right? And comma, which is used as a separator delimiter in CSV, is flipped to another character, then I cannot, there's no indication or way to find out again which from 2 values where the separator was supposed to be, right? And that would be an information loss. And I think this is why XML is a little bit more verbose from times where networking was less reliable, of course, and hardware was less reliable. But in general, I guess it's a mechanism to make sure that it is very robust. HTML6, yeah, I mean, I mean this exists to some extent, but I mean, there are sort of, I guess, probably 2 movements. I mean, the one is saying HTML5 is the last HTML ever. They also removed all version indication. This is something, I guess, the browser vendors and WG are proposing, because like it is in their interest, business and dependency wise, to do everything as how is it called? Not progressive. I just knew I just forgot the if you give me some more time, I remember the name. But the idea is that you're just reading the files and then trying to heuristically guess what features are in there, and then if these are supported, call the appropriate function or the corresponding functions for it, which is nice. I mean, this is of course like a good idea, but the bad part is that they don't declare in advance what sort of mix of functions they are using, and this means that you need like that you might read a lot of the document just to find out at the very end that some crucial part is missing that your program doesn't support. And then the question is if you have some smart fallback or like, you know, graceful degradation or something. And all that could be prevented if you just simply declare what version is used. And then there might be mixes of different versions, right? So I like it if it is explicitly declared just to reduce unnecessary reading. And for them it's cool, of course, because they say, we are the only vendor for these big packages, and this will force everybody to use our big packages because all the other stuff might not work properly because it cannot load the correct, you know, you don't have the chance to load the required functionality in advance before reading the entire file. So you might read parts of the file, then figure out that you need some other components or modules to load. And what then? Just block or wait until this stuff is installed or retrieved? I mean, I would like it better if a system could make these decisions upfront in advance before reading the entire file, just reading the header or something or some parts, and then not encountering these problems later. But I mean, the other school or movement, I mean, there are some people talking about HTML5, HTML6 in the standard, and there are some things lined up for that. Yeah, but who knows if it will ever, I mean, you know, these are sort of, I mean, HTML5 isn't that old, but once it is, I don't even know if it is actually now finalized yet, like completely finally, but of course, I mean, you immediately get some new things to add to the standard, right? So I assume HTML6 to be something pretty much existing, and the bad part of it is that you cannot identify it anymore because there's no I mean, I don't like DTD doc type declarations in HTML, but it is also a bad thing to remove version information from the XML namespace, from the root element and all that kind of stuff. That's sort of a little bit problematic, but this is what they got themselves into. And also the W3C, I think they just gave in to the pressure from the browser vendors and what WG. So they are competing. The big browser vendors are competing with open standards, and that's where we at right currently. But yeah, but just assume that there is a HTML6. Like I guess some like people are talking about it. So it is a thing. If they ever get it done, I don't know. If they ever proceed to do it in that way, I don't know. But maybe they are already collecting ideas in some working groups, or who knows. Okay. Didn't I want to? I think I want to instantiate this now. And then I'm entering another inner loop. This is where maybe I should put it into an extra. What they could add, I remember I think, oh, I'm not sure, but I mean there were a few things I read 2 years ago or 3 years, no, I think it was 2 years ago when I looked into, you know, like with HTML5, when it became more stable, I was interested, of course, how I could do XHTML5, right? Because you could also, you can always try to come up with an XMLized version of HTML, even with the HTML5 version. There is actually XHTML5, but not as a proper specification. Or I mean, maybe there is a W3C recommendation or whatever spec for how to come up for how the XHTML5 version looks of HTML. But the downside of that is that I had hoped for, there's XHTML 1.1, which is modularizing the entire whatever DTD and namespace stuff, and this is kind of cool. And with XHTML5, this is thrown away again, which is pretty bad. So there needs to be an XHTML5, like XHTML 5.1 version of it, more or less, right? That would be cool, but there's like, I mean, nobody uses this, doesn't really exist, isn't supported or maintained. And then there's XHTML5 Polyglot, which is a mixed version, which works as valid or sort of like decent compatible HTML5 as well as XHTML5, right? So this is a little bit like, I don't know. Oh, I don't believe in this. I mean, yes. I mean, in my opinion, this is like exactly the problem that this sort of nonsense happens here, because with XHTML you could use any and all of the XML technology that exists to work with XHTML web documents. And if it defines its own parsers, then you have to program these parsers from scratch and cannot make use of the XML technology, except you actually read it in and fix all of the, crazy handwritten errors and bugs and non-well-formedness and invalid stuff and try to make sense out of it. Then you need some libxml2 or whatever parsers there are. Right, run it through one of the big browser parsers instead of just using a little bit of XML parsing and XML tooling, which is available in almost any programming language, right? Yeah, but I mean, you are right that that XHTML got abandoned, and that is not a good thing in my opinion. Like, I don't know, I guess this WebAssembly didn't, who knows if this will actually, I mean, it looks like it didn't take off in the way they hoped. It's one of these things, there are always these kind of, like, just as XHTML didn't get a lot of adoption, I guess, because, you have to convince everybody on the entire net to change their servers and change their software and whatever. But I mean, this is sort of like dangerous stuff. If I mean, not technically that web ASM is something bad, but now, now we are like programming for, I mean, there's real assembler for machines, and then you have like, I don't know, like this is like a little bit like system in a system fallacy, right? I mean, it gets totally crazy. You're sort of like emulating an emulator in an emulator in an emulator in an emulator, like virtualization, and then you could just compile for the actual metal hardware, and it would be so much better and faster. I mean, WebASM is fast as well. That's the whole point of doing it, right? But then basically, like, I mean, this is like trying to kick out the operating system, and the browser overtakes the entire screen or like the entire machine, and then you boot directly into a WebASM binary, which is booted from your BIOS as the new operating system delivered by Google, right, on your desktop PC. Because you have a WebASM processor that takes WebASM like machine code instructions, right? Okay, I mean, that's possible, but I mean, yeah. I mean, Java does it like this, of course, as well, right? There's also the also .NET, of course, with bytecode But I mean, there's no Java hardware, I guess, right? No Java processor actually, and no WebASM chip yet. But soon, like all of the mobile platforms and maybe computers too, they will maybe have a WebASM chip because it's much faster, right? Like, and then we do all of our computing on our graphical processing unit or WebASM chip, right? But we could just use one of the existing ones, which already has machine code. And I mean, this is a little bit pointless, just reinventing the wheel for the sake of reinventing. And they only try to kick Intel and AMD out of it, or maybe they will be the main vendors of these chips. But I don't know. Like, I mean, this is a little bit pointless, right? In my opinion, just because they want to have like no installation, remote code execution of their Google. I don't know. This is just in my opinion, all of this is because they don't have proper software repositories with which are common in the GNU Linux world and Unix. For like you don't download some executable or have any sort of crazy ActiveX or Java applet plugins, but instead just download software from trusted repositories, maybe even automatically so. And that solves all of this nonsense what they are doing on the proprietary operating systems. Okay, I have to read a little bit up on what you've wrote here, what you have written here. Yeah, but like, I mean, what is the point of compiling code in the browser? Then you could already compile for the native machine, couldn't you? Why do you need the browser to do that? I mean, the only thing is that the browser is probably installed on the system already, but like on Windows, people don't have a Chrome out of the box installed on it, and Firefox not either, right? And real people, I mean, of course, maybe some grandmas and like whoever, they use Internet Explorer and Edge maybe, but nobody who's like a little bit more serious about working with the computer probably doesn't use these. So you have to install something anyway. And what's the difference of installing a browser that does compilation versus a compiler that does compilation on an IDE? I mean, you're going to install something anyway, right? Or maybe it could even be installed automatically if needed for compilation, if from trusted source code repositories with verified code. If I don't, web apps. Yeah, but like web apps are for the web browser, not compiled native code, are they? I mean, web apps that like progressive web apps. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I like these too. Yes, yeah. I mean, because you don't need to install something, right? You don't need to go to some app store and install, or even more problematic is downloading an executable or zip without, who knows if there's malware or not, and install that on the computer. And this is a little bit too tedious or inconvenient for some people. But this is only on, I don't know, Apple, Google, and Windows, Microsoft, right? But like in the free open world, you could easily do it. I mean, it is done much better, right? And you don't need all of the crazy big, I don't know. And it is like this for decades. Like, I mean, no, I don't have any antivirus for, who knows, more than 10 years on any of my machines. Just don't need it. There's no malware here, right? Can't be. I mean, it can be, but it is very, very unlikely, because then I would need to get that from the only way I could get that is from, if that's already in the stable, trusted, checked repositories, right? And it can happen, of course. So like maybe I get some malware by I don't open executable. I don't run automatically executable code, which is some macro document virus, right? I never use Flash or any of these crazy stupid, like ActiveX or something. And then there's no malware. And of course you can't get that on Microsoft, because Microsoft and their operating system and their whole system, I mean, they cannot kill their very own antivirus industry, right? Because they benefit from it like big time for many people and many companies, right? Buying all the antivirus crap in a cat and mouse game that never ends and is never safe nor secure. And then all the time you lose user data, important data, you get like the ransomware and whatever. And there's absolutely no technical point for that. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, sure. Like, I mean, Flash games, I mean, in terms of, but today you could have these as HTML5 canvas games, right? And it would be much better because it would be standardized. You don't need the plugin. It runs in the browser out of the box, right? And it could look, they could look the same. So it's just that more people, that Flash existed for a longer time, so more people did Flash games. But you could, like, I mean, imagine if you would have all your Flash games in HTML5 canvas, right? And it would be just, of course, much better, I think. Parabola, I installed that too, but I think I didn't give it too much, like Parabola. That's one of the recommended OpenLibre distributions. I like that, of course. Yeah, and then you need and then the sandboxing of the browser conflicts again with the because that is too remote code execution. Now it conflicts with the security of the client host system, and this is why you cannot have the offline saves. Flash, on the other hand, maybe allows that by if you install a plugin and give it permission to access your local drive, then that's of course a big security risk again, right? So, and I mean, this is just totally stupid. But I mean, of course, there's like you could use the web storage, which isn't totally great, I guess. Another option would be for games to allow you to download your save games or whatever, like have a link that offers you a local save function by compiling the file for saving into disk and loading it again. But it would be better if like these HTML5 games would be in a game repository, like just do some just do some game repository where these HTML5 games with local saving or storage can be submitted, and they get checked to some extent or get reviewed, are also Libre licensed, so you can have some extensions and modding and whatnot. And then you have a browser that can be installed that also has a local access, and then you would grant that the permission to write data to the disk. And if that's still a security risk, I mean, there are also these, packaging of HTML and JavaScript and whatnot into sort of some kind of framework that comes with a browser to run it, or maybe uses the local one, but also has interfaces for accessing local capabilities. And or maybe in Node.js does something like this too, because usually JavaScript in browser doesn't have file access, but in the Node.js server there's of course some interfaces for doing that. And then, like, I mean, then it depends on the security architecture of the operating system, of course, right? If you do everything as the root and admin user, or if you have like the binaries separate, or if you have like a session with very little rights, or maybe just for your game, yeah, have a mode which can invoke all of, like, I mean, these are questions of security architecture, and of course it is like quite difficult, but the sandboxing in the browser works probably well, but this leaves out a lot of potential. Or like with web ASM, right? Are you going to? I don't know. I mean, like, okay, you may be booting up virtual machines, but then how do you save these files? Because they could also like violate the confidentiality of user data or something. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Flash players as separate applications. Yes, yeah. I mean, I don't know if these are then the actual Adobe ones, or what is it called? There was like the Libre Free. I don't remember the name, but with JavaScript and websites you can do the same. There's like an installable executable that invokes the local browser, or maybe comes with its own browser rendering component, and that comes with some special interfaces for local file access. And these web applications written specifically for this framework, they can then invoke these interfaces. Yeah, Gnash, that was the one I was using like a long time ago. Now it is probably perfect, Gnash, right? Maybe they fixed all the bugs and support all of the ActionScript features, right? At a time where now Flash finally got abandoned. Lightspark. Okay. Yeah, it is, I don't know. And why is that? Because it's Adobe, right? They should just have done it as an open standard. Okay, I guess it was Macromedia and Shockwave before, and it was a new and cool thing, and I don't know. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and of course, if you are a developer, you have to consider if you are investing all of your scarce, valuable lifetime for reinventing one of this proprietary crap. So just it runs in a Libre environment where you don't have the problem to begin with, right? Okay. Yeah, I guess because the other thing is, if it is that old, maybe it becomes a security problem again, right? Because yeah. Who knows if you could actually install it? You mean if it you are saying it's not in Parabola, but isn't it in the repositories, or is it not installed per default out of the box? Because if they don't even have any repository, okay, then gets more and more difficult, of course, to install it. And also like a security, I don't know, concern. But I mean, like, I don't remember how. I don't remember what I used Gnash for. Maybe it was. I think it was for YouTube. It was for YouTube. Yeah. And now today nobody. I guess most people with a new computer out of the store, out of the box. I mean, there's no point in installing any Flash ever again. And I mean, they even discontinue it, just like Silverlight, because there's the canvas now. Why are things so hard to build? You mean to package it for the repositories, or to have a Gnash implementation, or the general mess with the browser stuff or my CSV parser here. I mean, computers are pretty stupid, right? They only understand very, very primitive instructions, and you have to tell them everything. They don't have an idea what a car is or a flash game or any. They don't understand any part of language. They only care about heat and understand electrical impulses, and that's maybe their entire world, and takes a lot of effort to make them simulate something that is also recognizable for that appears to make sense for humans, like a elaborate simulation, right, with images and buttons and Ganesh from source. Yeah, see, this gets interesting. I mean, I don't care about any of these Flash things. I actually don't like them at all, because this was another big security problem and proprietary thing. But other than that, let's see. I think at one point I wrote I think it's in here. Need some weird libraries. Yeah, and then everything gets outdated. Also, the dependencies get outdated, and they are not in the repository either, or not in useful versions. Maybe outdated or newer ones. But I had something here about building IceCAD from sources. I mean, this is like a totally old one, and also Ganesh. And I think, let's see, this was the stuff needed to be done to get this into GNU Sense. And of course it's totally outdated, but I think at least this looks like there wasn't a need to change something in the sources from Ganesh, right? Just to satisfy the dependencies, which can be bad enough, trying to figure them out and setting everything up. But it looks like Ganesh itself wasn't so much of a problem, but more like getting the current source code adjusted. Yeah, I guess it's difficult to build because developers, I mean, they are, I don't know. I mean, this is totally old, right? This probably doesn't work anymore or needs updating. And if you say Ganesh is discontinued, maybe it's not a good idea to, if the latest change was in 2012, then who knows if it is safe to run any Flash stuff anymore, right? Okay, and then you cannot find these libraries or dependencies anymore in the required versions, and then you need to build these libraries from scratch too, and they depend on other dependencies that are also only available in newer versions. Okay, maybe there are backports or whatnot, but then it gets, in the end you have to get an entirely different operating system, because everything like newest Parabola, everything else moved on, right? The entire, I don't know. Okay, but what was the? Yeah, I mean, like developers with like source code. I mean, it is difficult enough to program all this stuff, and then usually they know how to change, or they are totally busy with writing the actual code and fixing bugs and whatnot and restructuring everything. So they don't invest a lot of time extra for the extra mile to also make it easy to compile, or for every user, or testing it on every machine. And that is sort of like left out because they're already under capacity and overstressed, because it's not that they, Adobe gets a lot of cash for their software, right? If you would only throw that on some full-time developers for the Gnash project, right? I mean, maybe they would start maintaining it again. But if people pay for their Adobe Creative Suite, whatever, and then they cannot run it in Venezuela again, okay, I don't know. This is not my, I mean, this is just the, like, they spend all the money on renting software licenses, right? Instead of paying somebody for actually doing work. Okay, what can you do? I don't know. Flat packs or app images and just make everything build static executables. Yeah, I mean, you could maybe you could try to, I mean, depending on how serious one is and how much time somebody wants to invest. I mean, theoretically, you could probably like extract all of the packages that got installed, all the dependencies in their versions, in earlier versions that are needed, and download them. I mean, not just directly installing them, but also downloading them in their source, and then make synaptic or whatever's apt-get or configure, make them installable on with earlier versions of all of these dependencies. And I guess that probably needs some work because this is not how it is usually done. And then also maybe you want to have in parallel the older version and the newer version so that the rest of your operating system uses the newer version. But if you want to run your specific executable, I mean, like GNU Linux usually has support for different versions of the same libraries and executables, and then it uses per default the newest one. But if some of the applications explicitly request an earlier version, that usually should, I guess that should work, right? But I guess you have to look into that a little bit, how to set that up. But then you could probably run it more or less forever. I mean, not literally, but much longer. Or the other thing today, I was watching a little bit about some of Jason Scott talks again, right? And of course, there's also the option of emulating, because now they are like emulating old Apple hardware, and then they run Apple software and other software, Commodore's probably too. I think it's more like PC DOS, running that in a JavaScript emulator that emulates the old hardware. And that goes to some crazy lengths. On the Internet Archive, you have all the ROMs and disk images that can now be booted up again, games that can be played. And who knows, maybe it takes a little bit more time, and then you get that for Flash as well, right? Maybe. Who knows? Like the biggest, largest thing in Flash was probably the Habbo Hotel I ever saw, which was like where you could walk around and talk to other characters on a map in real time and chat with people and walk around and do things like a 2D game, or like Second Life in 2D with Flash. And I think I don't know if it still exists to this day, but I cannot imagine that the company who run it, that they rewrote it. Maybe they did, because maybe there's a financial economic reason or other reasons to do it, but that would be a lot of work. Okay, I mean, yes, sure. SWF to HTML5 converter, of course, that is probably not something that exists because it's highly custom specific code. And I mean, it is not even like cross-compiling to on the machine level. I mean, maybe there's something like this, but then the output is never as ideal as it would be if done in a dedicated, like by hand, like porting that is probably, you know, especially if it needs, like if it is sort of performance critical or real-time critical or has some animations or whatever, you know, converting that could be really tricky because you need to parse the action script or whatever it is, all of the, you know, and then rebuild the interfaces. And, you know, like the HTML5 interfaces, they are of course optimized for like the browser and how the browser draws stuff on, I don't know, like WebKit or whatever rendering engine they have, and these are using maybe GDL, SDL, or whatever, DirectX, OpenGL, some rendering device, probably, right? And the ActionScript does this as well, but with a totally different approach and interface. And then if you try to convert it one-to-one, you could try to stay true to the original Flash, which then is not ideal for the HTML5 version. Or you could try to, I don't know, maybe it doesn't translate one-to-one and needs some manual work, which is the whole problem with porting like this. I mean, maybe sometimes it works automatically, especially with, like, if it's just depending on, you know, if it is doing a lot with graphics, then maybe performance might become an issue. I don't know. Okay, I mean, but you are saying it is only frustrating and would take the rest of your life to finish, because also it would be a huge investment in learning maybe all of the programming and the special reading into action script, and who knows, maybe you even need to reverse engineer forensically, try to understand how the Flash stuff works or how Ganache is implemented and all of that. And it is of course like a big time investment eventually, right? But the other thing is, maybe there are lots of, I mean, maybe there are some people on this planet who do this kind of projects because they care about drawing on the screen and doing this on the web or with some, you know, and for them it would be of course easier. Or like, I mean, if you would try to, let's imagine the Gnash project, or what is the other one called? Let's imagine the Lightspark project is still active. Maybe it is, right? If you could join them and if they could help you out, I mean, they are also maybe doing it in their free time, don't have a lot of time, more important stuff to do. But but maybe with some help, maybe you could learn a little bit, adding small things or fixing some bugs, and then over time maybe it gets, like, maybe it doesn't take really the rest of your life, or maybe you just need enough of dedication and passion. But I don't know. It depends how important these games are in your life, I guess, right? I mean, somebody eventually has to do it, or it will be lost, I guess, or some other guy will emulate it. But you cannot simply assume that. Maybe it gets lost. Maybe nobody does it. Maybe it's easier to reprogram these games. I don't know what kind of games you are talking about, but if they are sort of like relatively simple, maybe they can be rewritten, right? And maybe this time keeping in mind that, you know, the execution environment might change over time. So maybe there are some strategies for making it easier to port into new systems. Or wouldn't it be cool if you could compile it to a mobile app, to a web HTML5 canvas thing, to a native app as well? I mean, that would be quite a lot of work, but still. It looks simple, doesn't use internet. Oh, okay. You mean the game, or is it only one game, or like a whole range of games? I mean, if it's simple enough, I don't know. Maybe it's easier to rewrite it from scratch, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends. If it's is it the game logic? I mean, that can be ported and copied fairly easily. If it is images, okay, then you get into copyright problems because you cannot just use the images and copy it into your own game. For the game logic, it depends if you have the code or not, if you have to guess or redo it from scratch. And what might be more difficult is if they do some special optimization stuff. That's probably the most problematic one, you know, if they have if the game has some crazy routines for, if they develop their own formats and their own, you know, graphic engine basically on top of Flash, and redoing that would be quite problematic. But okay, but if you want, maybe you could somehow send me a screenshot or a little description or something. Or I mean, I think I cannot run it on any of my computers. Or maybe a video. Do you have one of your channel just to so maybe I can get an idea what it is about, or how it looks like or works like, because the idea could be maybe it is not maybe a clone can be developed of it. I don't know. As a little, you know, side project or weekend project. The world is not all CSV parsers here, I guess. Right. Oh, I don't know how do I think you don't need to put that into the chat or something, but one way for contacting me is people can always send messages, or maybe let's even use on my homepage. There are always these contact forms where without giving any information, you can just send links or whatever, text descriptions, and that will end up in my inbox without the need to declare any special, you know. And then maybe if there's a way to, I don't know if like on YouTube and Google accounts, maybe there isn't even a way to send messages. Or maybe on my channel you can send me a message with your Google account, YouTube account. I don't know. Maybe that works as well. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, there are other options as well, but this would be one of them. Maybe. Oh. Huh, 1 year ago did it. Oh my. Yeah. I mean, of course, I have like a Gmail account address because of the YouTube channel. It's not that I ever created it or asked for it. You just automatically got one with the Google Plus integration, right? But I don't want to necessarily leak that because it's not identical to my channel name because it was already taken. That's the game. Okay, I guess there's a link. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you cannot post links in the YouTube chat because yeah, I mean this is the automatic moderation there to prevent spamming and malicious whatever, because people could put, images, links to images in there that the streamer cannot check, and if he or she is just clicking on it, then maybe you have some illegal stuff on live streams. Okay, that should be off. But on the other thing is, I think I cannot play that right now because that would play the audio. But okay, I'm going to copy that, right? And we'll look into that after the stream. Okay, I see. Okay, if that's fine. I mean, if we should watch that together, but then I don't know about, depending on artwork, if there's like some copyright things. Where can I put it? Maybe I should just put it into a file here. Okay, like this. Okay, let's see. Because I mean, I don't know if to what extent you have seen some of my videos, but like a long time ago I did some browser game programming, and this was a long time before HTML5 canvas existed. And okay, yeah, and that is probably one of the problems with the, I mean, you cannot use the World of Warcraft artwork, right? But would it also be an option to use some other artwork and use the same game mechanic or concept? Probably not, because it's like a fan game or official World of Warcraft game, and the whole point is about World of Warcraft artwork as the aesthetic, right? And that's why you probably cannot recreate it in an equivalent, in an identical fashion. And if the original company, what is that, Blizzard, doesn't want to put out a new version, then you are totally out of luck. Maybe it's even an illegal sort of non-licensed fan creation. Yeah, I mean, you can still draw new characters, or like, I mean, that would be fine if you are more about, yeah, and probably they didn't get an official license from Blizzard, I guess, right? And there's the problem right there for not being able to copy it. Or I mean, you could just create your own fan game. I mean, some like one of the options is, for example, writing the game engine, or like the game mechanics, the logic, and then use placeholder graphics. And then if you want to play it with your actual images that are copied or screenshotted or extracted from the Flash application, you could just load it as a mod, and then you have your actual game back, more or less, right? But then the source code or the engine doesn't need to come with the non-licensed artwork, and can indeed power other games as well that use sort of the same mechanics. And that is an option how this could work for for not violating any rights, and also if people know how to get the original images somehow from somewhere, then they can make it work again. But yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean sometimes the big companies, they don't go after fan work as long as it doesn't get big, right? If they see a way to, I mean, they many of these companies, they killed a lot of fan projects. But if it's like really unknown and obscure and nobody knows about it, then, and yeah, paint graphics, yes, exactly. I mean, for placeholders as well as for for using the original artwork. Sometimes there's a way, like if you have like the Flash game downloaded to the client, maybe there's even a way to extract the images from the, because they have to be somewhere in the data, right? Maybe you can just extract all of them. Yeah, of course. Yeah, like Pokemon, and there are lots of this. Like, I don't know, like, and this is like, I mean, if they don't want their stuff to be used, their content to be seen, their games to be played, then I ignore them altogether. How cool would it be to have like actual code Pokédex stuff? But maybe this exists and only the official one. Okay, whatever. Like, I mean, the most tragic is people who invest like a lot in a fairly good fan game or fan project, right? And they get to a pretty good stage and they get some users and fans and players who play it, right? And then after it got big, then it gets all shut down and everything is lost. Yeah, okay. Then you can indeed learn, like, I don't know. Then you indeed spend the rest of your lifetime recreating the same fan projects and fan games just to get them taken down all the time for restrictive proprietary licensing. Instead, we should create a bunch of games that are Libre licensed, and like, you know, like fan fiction, which invites people to expand the universe and create their own stories with a game engine behind it, and encourage, like, you know, like Wikipedia, but for you know, sort of online games, or GNU Linux gaming, which exists of course, but that doesn't receive a lot of support. And if that would be made cooler with more, you know, little fun projects, I mean, of course, it's not a Hollywood production, not like a big Disney franchise or whatever, you know. But on the other hand, for like fan communities, especially in the browser game, traditional browser game realm, I mean, there are many of these little, I mean, they are die out over time, are not fancy anymore, but like there are a lot of little fun games with their own communities. And of course, these are most of the time still proprietary and restrictively licensed, but just that there are many of these means that sort of there's a bigger chance that these get continued, even if one shuts down. Maybe they find a new one and somebody else who starts operating it again. People keep the files and the user data, and maybe start it again with a new somebody else who runs it, or an organization who runs it. There was also, like in text adventures, there's now the interactive fiction community, and they do amazing stuff, right? And this should be like this for casual games, for Libre free gaming. I mean, this is not AAA blockbuster titles that get sold in boxes on Steam. You know, Steam, like these things could be software repositories, just like Parabola, Debian, whatever repositories. But no, instead you have the proprietary directory. Okay. I mean, gamers don't care anyway, right? I mean, they are just playing for fun, and they are willing to accept everything as long as they can play their sort of game, I guess. Even consoles, right, with all of their restrictions, computers inside, and you are prevented from programming them because they put in some special cartridges, so you can only buy from them, and some special keys on there that you cannot run your own images or ROMs you installed into cartridges or via a data bus. Okay, if that's the kind of thing people want to do, I don't. Yeah, Pokemon, I mean, on the Game Boy, yeah, I mean, or what is like Game Boy and Nintendo 64, but this was sort of the last. I'm not a console person. I stopped being a console person. 3DS. Oh yeah, see, I mean, what's the point of it? I mean, 3DS. I mean, sure. What is it today? I mean, like. I don't. I mean, this. I mean, I see why that still works for some people or a lot of people, but I mean, you know, what happens if they go bankrupt or whatever, or just decide one day to not update or release 3DS anymore or sell it to somebody else, right? Then all of your work and the tool might be gone overnight, right? Okay. Then you can spend your lifetime reprogramming the same wheels all the time for no good technical reason, I think. I mean, that's sort of. I think in Java I cannot have. Let's just continue with the. Most of the time on stream I'm probably ranting. This is more like the ranting stream, I guess. Less of a programming stream. Where is the example here? Okay. And the nice thing here is I only have attributes. And of course, this means that I don't need another loop just to read out like a text node, and instead can easily read these strings from the attribute. That is more convenient, but on the other hand, I don't want to just put everything into attributes for the convenience of writing the stacks parser. So these are sort of like questions of how to design the format and whatnot. CSV column attribute number. Does this work? Who knows? Let's try. Maybe let's leave it like this. New qualified name. XML and name. And the same stuff all over again. Okay, and I have to check for the end. And this should be it more or less. I mean, of course, maybe I need to put it in the map still. But yeah. If we are in mapping, we check if it already exists. We are going to read all of the elements inside. Maybe I have to. Oh no, I think it is fine. Okay. Column number. And this should be XML element name. Okay. And with maps on Java, I don't remember how it worked exactly. Was it insert? Was it put? Maybe put. And I think it doesn't, I mean, of course it doesn't automatically convert the type, so okay, I have to change this, of course, but let's just see if what else I need to fix. So I'm going to try to compile. Okay. Event get attribute by name. This is is this what I typed by hand? Or is Q name unknown? Who knows? Symbol get attribute by name. Both of them or just one of them? Event. Yeah, because it's not event, but instead start element. this is an important difference, of course. The event type XML event that doesn't know about anything about attributes because it represents all of the potential elements and whatnot. But like if I found out that it is actually a start element, then of course I can sort of like cast it to the, or like get out the actual object of the corresponding class. Oh no, this is a bad name. Element. Maybe it's not a bad name. Because I did not find out yet what the actual name of the element is. So let's just work with what we have, and here it gets start element, of course, not the XML element. Because end elements, for example, they don't contain attributes. But this is something for XML2 or XML3 or XML 2.5, right? End elements that can contain attributes. And I mean, it is debatable how much sense this makes, but there might be some circumstances where it is where it might be a reasonable thing, right? Oh, it did build, okay. Okay. Maybe I should convert this to an integer before I continue trying to check for this second attribute. Like there's the question when to abort. Maybe I want to first check if both of the attributes exist, because that's a statement about the general structure of the input job file, and only secondarily check if the contents of these attributes are also correct, of the right type and whatnot. Column. I already have column number, don't I? Column number. String. Oh, how does this work? Parse int? I don't. And this also throws an exception or not? Or maybe it returns a Boolean. I don't remember for sure. Is try parse a Java thing? Or was it from one of the other languages? Parse int, just like I wrote it, but okay, it throws an exception. That is sort of okay. I mean, I prefer Boolean, but yeah. Okay, I think I just... Should I now wrap this into... like this. There's a semicolon missing. What are I'm going to catch? I don't know. Maybe I leave it like this. I mean, this shouldn't the compiler complain in Java? I guess all of the exceptions need to be either declared to be thrown in the method or handled, right? Exception types. But for some reason, consoles are nice as a device. I mean, I like them too as a sort of as the compliance. But the problem is, what is the reason for not to give you a cartridge programmer or a little data cable socket or plug or USB connector where you could put in them new software, or for example, if you could open the plastic whatever case and open it and put in a new SD card to install new or different firmware, right? This is what I don't like about them, that they are artificially, deliberately closed down, locked down computers, basically. I mean, of course, it's better to play with joysticks and like a little nice machine that sits in the, but this is nice, of course. But what isn't nice is the way the vendors and companies artificially lock them down so that only they can develop and sell games. I mean, of course, like if you have a hobby market, right? Of course, there's a lot of crap. Sure, there was like what was it? There was like the video game crash in the 80s or something, and this is sort of the argument why we still do this like many decades later. But I mean, this is sort of like pointless, right? You have maybe your great sources of video game magazines maybe that review and rate and vote on the nicest games, and then you have games from your friends, and then you have like different recommendations and sources for what kind of games you are looking for, of what quality, of what, if you're spending hundreds of euros or dollars on something that is worth like an actual desktop computer, and you can do way less other than just gaming, and you could just connect a gamepad or joystick to your computer as well, of course it's something different, right? But like if you have a big TV, just put right, and then there are titles exclusively released for only consoles and only a particular one. I don't know, this is a little bit like your Flash thing, right? And if the company dies out and you cannot get new gamepads and controllers made for it, or your game disk is, I don't know, something is broken, then you can, okay. I mean, with computers the same, but yeah. I mean, I might have started experimenting and programming and exploring way earlier if I could only have programmed these consoles. And like the Game Boy, for example, isn't that, I mean, it isn't an e-ink device, but just for like, I mean, that is basically already like your tablet or smartphone or something. I mean, this could do cool stuff like a handheld PDA, and if you put like, I mean, of course it's not, but I hope you get the point. Sort of, it doesn't have a keyboard, of course, right? So you cannot like do serious typing, but it could have like a T9 or whatever. How these, I don't know, like many options or potential digital futures that were missed and are now lost to the past. Of course, not everybody had a Game Boy. Nobody would have bought them if they were meant for, you know, like other applications, like address books, like people used PDAs for, but yeah. Now we need it again for augmented reality in physical space with the Internet of Things. And it's like, of course, today the world is a far different one, because now it's the Android phones everywhere and stuff like this. The idea was that this shouldn't build because the exception is not declared to be thrown and not handled. But it does build, which is sort of like probably because maybe you have a big exception handler around it in my program, of course. Okay, then let's have a look into the documentation, what kind of exceptions I get from Parser, like converting a string to integer with the integer class. This is not the Java documentation. Okay. Let's look at the actual source with an annoying cookie policy overlay that tries me from preventing to click, because for some reason Oracle has to track where, like, let's look at this. Let's look at the web world for some, like, I mean, I get why there's a law that requires this, and why does Oracle think that they need to track me for advertising on their crappy, you know, on their crappy stupid site. So I'm not consenting to any of their cookie policies anyway. So I'm going to open because the problem is I cannot click on the link here because of the stupid overlay, right? So what I do not consent to their stupid nonsense, claiming that there are required cookies for the function of the site. I just want to read a simple web page, so this should stop lying to my face. So I'm going into select their stupid overlay pop-up and just delete it, because I already received, I mean, the point of the user agent is that I retrieved the actual resource and website, and it's downloaded already anyway, so I don't need any of their crazy interaction here just to read a static web page. Yeah, you do that too. I mean, how you know, I mean, we are technical people and sort of like know how to get our way around, right? But for everybody else, like for regular users, their option is to either not use this stuff and everything is crap, or easily giving away all of their, you know, they are sort of like clicking and consenting basically, and then Oracle can say, yeah, but they did click the, right? I mean, there was no need to accept the cookie policy, right? It could just have walked away, right? I mean, there's some sites that try really nasty stuff, blocking the page down arrow so that it doesn't load anymore, and like some sites with this stupid cookie and whatnot or whatever, they disable the scroll bar and also prevent the arrow down a key to move down to the bottom of the page, which is already downloaded and loaded in the browser anyway, and then going in and deleting the JavaScript that is blocking it. I mean, this is not something I do, and maybe I should do save as or use my own HTTPS client to just retrieve the resources, and the JavaScript is never pulled from the source then. And if it is embedded, then it is never run because I can strip it out maybe with a conversion. And all of this I can do because it's not XHTML. I cannot use my automatic XML, all of the XML technology. So it needs to run in a browser because it's otherwise messy, corrupt XML, and that is run in the browser, and the browser then again executes the JavaScript crap, of course. And then I have a cookie policy pop up there. Okay. I mean, I guess the point is just to stop worrying and loving the bomb, right? But the problem is that there's a big explosion at the end. That is sort of like the problem. Where was I? What did I try? I wanted to parse integer. Now I'm struck with blindness as well. Do I get a new pop-up cookie? Oh, it might just be a jump to an anchor, of course, right? Why didn't it move parse int? Okay. Number format exception. This is everything I wanted to need. I wanted to know. Getting tired now as well. Okay. And here I have to be careful because was it the first parameter or the second? I mean, here it is important to also pass this to the result information. Maybe I should not put it here because it might lead to the wrong. It might confuse me later. If it is this parameter here and I put it there, maybe it compiles and I do wonder because it gets casted to Boolean or whatever, and then I wonder afterwards. Okay. Okay, this apparently did somehow. Oh no, I need to make sure that this is actually used. You think you can use the proprietary Flash player? You mean like the Adobe Flash plugin? I guess like Adobe keeps maintaining it for like still some more years, but I mean it is discontinued, of course, right? So for like as a long-term strategy, oh, column doesn't exist, of course. This is the thing with gaming, right? If it gets annoying, like gamers, of course, being able to play the game is of course more important than running libre-free software that can always be maintained and can be continued. But sure, if the game started out proprietarily on a proprietary execution environment and platform, then what can you do, right? There's no chance to start out with better libre freely licensed one that can be ported and maintained as long as there are people who want it. So yeah. I want to try to produce a crash for the parsing of the integer here. I mean, these messages here are probably not, they can be pretty misleading, I guess. But by copying, I mean, one of them is, maybe I didn't adjust it, yes. Oh yeah, I didn't adjust. I didn't modify number and XML element name. Number, okay, this is there, and XML element name. Oh no, wait. Number and the other attribute, and the other stuff is just the exception messages. Okay, then I have to look into the, just to make sure, because in here I have the line of the exception, I guess, right? Where it did happen. Oh no, this is supposed to be, oh no, usually I identify via the message ID, but because I copied it, I'm not entirely sure where it happened, in which line. Okay, but it must be one of the two. Why does it complain? XML element name or number? Column number? No, CSV number? CSV column? Start element? I'm a little bit... What did I do wrong? Let's see if I can attribute number. I'm not. Maybe I'm checking the wrong one or something. Who knows? Let's see if it gets more specific. Okay, apparently it was none of the two, was it? Or did I stop changing these? Path A, path B. Or maybe, yeah, of course. See, this is why I need to be careful not confusing myself. So it is of course the number exception here, right? And I just copied the, didn't adjust all of the exceptions there, right? But okay, it is most likely the attempt to convert the string to integer. Yes, of course. Okay, I mean, I have to clean up all of the exceptions later. Okay, but this means that I think I'm now reading all of the settings, which is, oh, okay, which is sort of useful and cool. Yeah, okay, no exceptions, and it does. So I think I now have to pass them to the parser object, and in there I can then check for the delimiter and make decisions if to omit the first line or not. Maybe that's something I can do today, because it's already getting late again. Didn't make too much progress, but still it's useful progress. We need to check if the important settings were configured. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you have to keep in mind, like, of course, the proprietary version, that means that there are maybe at some point there was a department, maybe an entire department of highly qualified people who got paid to maintain it, right? And that is spent by money who rented the other Adobe software by cross subsidizing. I mean, nobody paid for the Flash plugin. Yeah. And for Gnash, I mean, who's paying for Gnash? You probably didn't, did you? So of course, it's like, this is like a self-sustaining, like, of course it always remains to be crap in that kind of setup and environment. It's ignore first line. This is not doesn't need to be set. But on the other hand, like, for example, the freely Libre licensed implementation of the HTML5 canvas, which is also an open standard, that is also pretty well maintained, right? So you don't need the proprietary Flash anymore, except for some software that has been written for that environment. And therefore it was like maybe a mistake to write it in that for Flash to begin with. But okay, back in the day there was only proprietary implementations of drawings, like of application programming in the browser, which goes beyond simple forms. Publishing a decompiled version. Yeah, the other thing is there could be patent infringements. There's also the like decompiling stuff. There's also the problem of circumventing copy protection in terms of DRM. But this is more on the Adobe side. I mean, if the fans who made the app, the Flash game, if they are fine, like the question is, like, I mean, decompiling, probably you don't get into trouble of with the fans who did the Flash game. But for like highly technological, components, there can be issues with Adobe, of course, right? In terms of patents and circumventing copy protection, which is compiled versions can be seen as some sort of copy protection in their or in legal sense. But the other thing is probably they won't sue, right? They won't take legal action, I guess. But theoretically, if for example, if there's a service that decompiles all Flash apps and publishes them, even with copyright permission, maybe Adobe or something, some of the proprietary vendors with stuff like this, they could go around and say this is like this is like infringing on our, because they want to keep it that way. And then it depends who would spend all the money on lawyers and a legal fight. But I mean, of course, I mean, this is a selective weapon. It depends on if they actually have, like, for example, if Microsoft or Google would go ahead and say, we are going in the browser, we are going to decompile all Flash that comes, all Flash ActionScript program packages that are downloaded, and decompile them if they are run with the Adobe Flash plugin, right? Then that's something they would probably take legal action against. I mean, evil companies, yes and no, but it's not that. I mean, they are sort of, the problem is they are set up and structured to be that way, unfortunately, right? Because there are like many stakeholders and there are many employees, and like the employees, they try to do, I mean, they are doing a job, and maybe they have to, of course, it is convenient and easy to get paid in a company like this, and of course the whole industry does it, and like it is some sort of, they are not the victims of their own actions, right? They are doing it to some users and society and the digital future. So it is like a systemic problem because it has developed historically into this reality. This is, and of course, it's not that they get up every day and say, we try to get the most evil person, but like, of course, like if you have a competitor and you don't want to go out of business, of course you need to do a lot of evil things, right? Or if you need to meet stakeholder and stock expectations or whatnot, like they are not doing it just for the point of being evil, but for stupid reasons. They are sort of like a little bit forced. Of course there are like evil motivations as well, but yeah, like a mix of these. But like, I mean, technically it's a lot of it is not really necessary, right? I mean, it's not in the technology. It's like stupid social, exploitation and trying to grab power and stay in power and maintain control over things, and root element name needs to be set. Like the funny thing is that Google, like the don't be evil, right? I use that increasingly to call them and other companies evil in reference to the don't be evil motto they have or had, right? And especially like some of the newer startups or companies, they like, even Microsoft today, they try to portray them as the good guys, but at the same time they are doing all this questionable stuff, just like they did all the, stop being a thing if they published everything. Like all. I mean, I'm thinking about this a little bit more in the last few months, because I think that like the maybe all of the industries, or some of them at the very least, maybe even most of them, in these industries, they have their dirty secrets, sort of, everybody in the industry sort of knows about them. They don't really openly talk about them. It's not that they are actually totally secret, but for example, doctors, right? If you would know that what they get, what benefits they get from the pharma companies, right? If they sort of recommend the new pharma, like the new drug that just got, that basically the patent expired, and it just modified it a little bit so they can claim a new patent, and then the doctor then can sell the more expensive package or recommend it to the patient, right? And then they get invited to certain events or get some certain goodies, or like are on a list of invited, I don't know, speakers or whatever they have. I mean, I don't know for sure, right? So like many doctors likely know, and if you really want to know, you can easily find out, but most of the people are not really aware about it because it's not they don't talk a lot about it. But like if you would get to one of their meetings or something, that would like everybody would, like, I mean, it is not really a secret, right? And the same goes with, you know, auto mechanics. If you get to if you drive to the workshop, they say, of course, oh, we need to replace all of this stuff, and you can only use the original car parts from the original vendor, right? And this is their little scheme, so they get like the goodies and benefits from the particular vendor. They are even a licensed workshop for a particular vendor, right? They are not in service, neutral service to the client, but they are like the licensed. I mean, of course, it makes sense to some extent, right? And then if you continue with the what was another one? I mean, I don't know much about these industries, but it is like a little bit like this with sort of everything. If you like farming and agriculture, you know what they need to put into their fields from Monsanto, Bayer and stuff to just, you know, and you don't know where they actually farmed it, if it was next to like an industrial space or near like a road, and they put the, you know, like all of the and you know, in the in a restaurant, in the kitchen, what the chef puts into the, and like I know more about like software and publishing. You know, what do you think? Where the books go? Like a bookshop cannot sell. What do you think? What they do with it, right? What do you like? These are like, there are many of these things, right? And they're not secret, but like people are hardly aware because like all of this hidden happens in, you know, in some other place, in some production facility, and somebody this, like, I mean, you know, in software, if you have downloaded, I don't know, I don't know. I don't want to make more examples like this, but there are just like a lot of them. In tourism, I mean, I don't, you know, what gets recommended, and you know, I guess I'm maybe writing like a little summary or like introduction to the publishing industry, which is like the big book publishers, how that works. Because I mean, it's not with everyone in the industry, but and maybe even the majority is not like involved in these kind of things, but like the biggest players, or what it traditionally was set up to. And it's a mix of evilness and historical remnants from the past, and you know, modern day pressures they are fighting against, and you know, sort of conspiracies or agreements within the industry, conventions, and sort of, you know, business practices they all adopt. And there are many like really interesting things, but they are not very well known to the general public, because, you know, who has the time to read all that up? All you need is like get your car fixed now, and you have like you have like a hiccup and you need a little medicine there, and sometimes maybe you get totally screwed over, and then you are only one amongst many who complain, and you are not organized, but the companies are organized, right? They are organizations, that's the whole point, and they concentrate a lot of power and therefore have more leverage. And if there's a few victims or exploited or disappointed people, who cares? Because there are much more new or different customers every day. First line doesn't matter. Root eliminate encapsulation. Okay. Are you working in some? I mean, if you know Gopher, you must be likely maybe a little bit older than me. So maybe you are working something on, you said you learned some programming in school some time ago, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, what would you like? I mean, it's. I mean, I guess this is sort of like what happens naturally. And you are 17 and you know Gopher from using it back in the day. Okay. Okay. This is cool, actually. But the point is with these industry, let's say, secrets, I mean, not that they are really secrets, but if you start as a beginner in some industry, you start down at the very bottom of the pyramid or hierarchy, right? You don't get in as a boss making all the decisions, but maybe you work your way up, and every little step of the ladder you learn a few new things, how the stuff works and how things tick, and how the departments and the different, how they deal with the all of these traditions they have and culture they have accumulated, and you learn a little bit more and more, and then you of course you are invested and embedded into their scheme and way of doing things, and of course so over time it is very natural to, I mean, right, you're joining some guild of shoemakers and they conspire to not drop the price below. I mean, this is like a stupid example, but I mean, there are many of these things going on at the same time. A year or two ago, how is there is there still a version running of it, or is it a retro thing, or? I thought that Gopher is completely abandoned by now. I mean, who runs any of this as a service or as a client still? I mean, MS-DOS isn't and I mean, to a point, I mean, even MS-DOS might be of some commercial value still, because DOS, maybe not MS-DOS, but some of the DOS stuff is still used in embedded systems, and I think they found like a new. I guess there's a new use case, a more recent use case for it again, but I don't know. I think it was not embedded, but something like that, or maybe using it in some enterprise, whatever, really old. I don't know. Okay, great Gopher clients in most distros. You know, one important thing, I don't know if I already aired this rant in the stream and to you, but you know, the new thing is, it isn't about the desktop and the operating system anymore. It's not even about mobile anymore, right? And most of the open source, so-called open source, Libre free world doesn't get it, but now it is about lock-in in the server with software as a service dependencies, right? And even the operating systems are geared towards that, and it's more about data lock-in, because also 2 or 3 years ago, if you went on Twitch or YouTube live stream in the programming category, there was quite a lot of people developing under Ubuntu with some, I don't know, writing for like that was their main working operating system, and they were writing for AWS, and they were doing what was like, there was like a real risk for Microsoft to, I mean, I guess you easily remember the time where it looked like they would go completely under, and then they opened their like sort of war chest and started throwing out a lot of money and public relation marketing stuff, buying GitHub, and now we are all friendly. Here's Visual Studio Code developers, please join our cause again, right? And now everything thinks like they say, oh, we are like totally in favor of open source and everything, but still, I mean, come on. I mean, this is not what's really happening. No. They're like pulling the next great trick, because like like companies and private people, they are changing to Office 365, and then you cannot even open your very own documents and letters anymore if you're, for one, not paying the yearly fee, and for two, if you don't have internet connection for reading your own letters, right? This is where people are going to. And doing I mean, Google Drive isn't better, but now we are like doing the OneDrive, right? Put everything into the OneDrive. They will take care of it. Netcat. Okay. Okay. Oh, maybe I give it a try. It deleted. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. I mean, I didn't set any policy with the, automatic moderation in the YouTube. But on the other hand, I would probably need to find out what it is, all the stuff it is blocking, right? I mean, I don't mind links being put in because nobody's watching anyway. So there's not a high risk that somebody's putting in a link there and I just accidentally, or, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, but this does its own crappy stuff in the... I mean, it's a Google service, of course, right? So what can you expect? What we could do is go on an IRC channel. That is an option, and do away with all of the restream and all of the streaming chats there. Yeah. Maybe I should just block the chat sections and put in a link to an IRC channel and link to a web client, so literally everybody can join and they share the same chatting space, and I don't need to have this stuff. That's probably a cool way of doing it, right? The downside is that I don't have the chat protocol synchronized as a separate... But I mean, this could be done technically, right? Synchronized with the recording. I just make like a synchronization clap. I mean, depending on how much it is needed. Could get fancy or retro there. I don't know if Gopher would support any of this. I don't think so, right? Would it? I don't think so. I think it had some sort of different sort of forgotten and abandoned features that are not in, even I don't know them, but I likely should look into it again. what was it here? Size. Oh, okay. Every variant. Be careful to not get kicked or banned automatically from the, or get your YouTube account flagged as a spammer or something, because I mean, I don't do it. It's not me doing it, but like the artificial intelligence algorithm, you know. I mean, you could put it into a paste bin, right? This is one of the, but maybe that's too much effort already. I too have, like, there could easily be some site to just post the stuff the chat isn't relaying here. It's links to resources, and those resources can have types. Oh, that is great, because I mean, I need some sort of lists as well for my own sort of attempts to organize my sort of kind of hypertext stuff. Not that I actually am going to build this big amazing engine or machine, but I'm like slowly bootstrapping, putting in more features. And one thing I need is, of course, lists for like music playlists, my lists of published little text pieces, bookmarks. I want to publish different collections of bookmarks I maintain and collect, right? And I mean, there's one other guy who's like interested in these kind of list things and also did some work on it. Who was it? Let me quickly. I can't just remember the Duke Crawford. He's let's see. He said that he's interested in these kind of list things. I don't know if this is like the important feature for you, or if you are looking into Gopher for nostalgia reasons or for some actual, but Duke Crawford said he has something about organizing lists, because this is of course like an important little feature or capability that's needed to make some of this stuff work. Like, I mean, RSS and ActivityPub and Atom feeds and all of that is of course, that needs to be extended or improved or reconsidered or rediscovered to some extent, right? Not like these big sites that cannot be read by any application that are like a big mess. Okay, I mean, I think I have one of Duke's sites here, but I'm not sure if this was actually made for... I think this is not the example that had some of the list features. I mean, it has some list stuff here, but this is for his GIF work. He's working a lot on GIF or GIF, depending on how you want to pronounce it. There was I think he had a special domain for some of the hypertext stuff. I have some links somewhere, but I would need to dig them up. I don't know if this is of any interest. Okay. Oh my! Why is it doing? Is it like blocking everything you? Oh, crazy, crazy. You know, this is totally. I mean, if you really want to post it, okay, then we can go at length and making it. You could just post it to my contact form and then I can pull it out from there. This is one option. I could also develop a little separate chat, or we could jump on an IRC with a web client or something. Or maybe, I don't know if... Why can't I find the site again? I mean, it's not very popular, I guess, but... Yeah, you see, like, if I ever get the... if I ever get the CSV parser completed on stream, instead of doing it much faster off stream, then maybe I might continue with looking into lists, or maybe like a game engine for a Flash game clone. No, I think I cannot find it via search engine. Let me try something else. Oh, okay, that was of course not a good idea. No, I mean I'm just guessing. Yeah, I cannot find his. He had like a list thing, which was sort of, I mean, not a totally crazy sophisticated big thing, but at least more list stuff than I have currently, and that is not very difficult, but still. The most recent thing is that, or like with one of the projects, they started a little nice practice of monthly mixtape, and there you are enabled to post music recommendation, but only one per month. And so we have this little list of recommendations of different participants of the project who listen to different musical styles, genres, and it is quite interesting to see what people post every month. And for that I made a little management application that management application that creates this list. Okay, so okay, if you posted it to my contact form, let's see if I can pull that up. Oh no, I was too smart and put some protection. Okay, but okay, wait. Then I have to log into email, and then I have it in the inbox. If it says vielen Dank, that means that it was actually submitted, and it also means, oh, I think I guess the about page is localized and translated into English and German, and it depends on your language in the browser client what you get. but I think I didn't manage to put internationalization into the JavaScript that puts the vielen Dank in there. So this is something that okay, let me just open my inbox. Okay, loading. I think the machine is a little bit busy with all of the streaming that's going on. It's not very powerful anyway. Okay, so it is like printf and C. Okay, so you want to recommend to me to just run it, right? I hope that nothing went wrong with the encoding in special characters, but okay. So like let's see. Maybe I should use a different terminal so I don't mess up all of the okay. So what I got, maybe I put it first in an editor, so in case I need to adjust any of the oh no, but like I mean, I guess this is like the normal that looks like port. Sure. And this is what like a Gopher service running, or what is port 70? Is that for Gopher? And I get some response here. Okay. Maybe I have some ugly line wrap here, right? Okay, I see. The first character, okay, item type. Oh, that's nice. So like it's a little bit like doing like HTTP protocol, just go for protocol, I guess, right? With some, I mean, no, I'm like sure. I mean, if this is probably more the equivalent of some HTML that gets interpreted and rendered, right? And it is not very difficult to parse this as well and render some lists, but I think you don't need it because you already have graphical Gopher clients and Gopher parsers and all of that stuff. Or is that also something you would want to get? And then it's like in terms of semantic, it tells me where I can go, I guess, right? So I would put in, if I want to go to the FAQ, I just do the same thing and request the, now I guess it's, is it like this as the FAQ? And then I get the next list. Oh, okay, there's probably not known. Maybe I have to put that in somewhere extra. It's very simple. Yeah, but it's not that I can like add the path at the, I guess I have to add that somewhere else, don't I? Oh, maybe I do add the path at the end, and if I don't have a path, I end up at the main. Is this how it works? Reverse engineering. Oh, okay, this sort of. Wait, maybe not. But what is no like? Wait, I'm. You are printing a line break to because sending an empty printf to the netcat, right? And if I put in the path here, Is this how it works? I mean, if you leave me with enough time, I figured out myself. But otherwise, like this maybe, right? Okay, great. Okay, this is actually the protocol. Great. Yes, 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 of course. Okay, fine. This is great. Pretty easy to write clients for it. Okay, I guess maybe there's more complex stuff if this can also do some operations or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Are these hidden tabs in here? Likely, right? So like CSV parser would be useful. Okay, just joking. Okay. But like these look aligned, and that's probably not done manually, but part of the protocol or something. I don't know. But it's not that you need any Gopher client, or maybe you have good ones or like graphical ones. You are not using Netcat, are you? Or whatever this is. You are probably using some client there, graphical client probably, right? Or maybe like a command line tool, but not this tab separate different parts of a resource. Of course, yeah. So maybe it's time for a Gopher revival. Just as there are many people, including me, asking for an RSS revival. Okay. Yeah, sure. And these are like proper tools to navigate around. But are they both command line terminal programs, text programs? I mean, I guess graphical Gopher interfaces do exist, don't they? And you could use one if you wanted to, right? But you are just not using it because it's better, nicer, automatable to use text one, terminal one. And it's also that you don't, it's not that you want to run your own Gopher server, right? Or are you? Because I'm asking because all of these sound like typical interesting projects to work on. You don't know if there are any GUI implementations. But if there are not, and you would want one, I mean, it would be, I'm writing parsers, and that's all halfway to a browser, right? I'm also doing like some of the user interface programming for some of the hypertext stuff. Yeah, sure. I mean, of course, there's no point to have it in Firefox. There are even more important things that got removed. Let me quickly Google for like a search for like a graphical user interface for Gopher. Because if there isn't, then we should do some retro revival Gopher. But I mean, there has to be, right? There has to be like a 1,000 of them. There are some screenshots, but they look like maybe they are in. It is maybe the Gopher support in Netscape. And this is not something that can be used today. So I would want a modern, out-of-the-box Gopher client that's maintained in something that is easily installable on all of the distributions. In Java, for example, or Qt. Oh my. Yeah. If streaming wouldn't be so terribly slow for talking and ranting all the time, then maybe we could build some more projects like a clone of a Flash game or like a graphical Gopher client, and maybe a Gopher server too, right? And converters between web stuff and Gopher stuff. Yeah, why I want a graphical user interface for Gopher is because that would allow people to just install a package and navigate around in online resources like graphical browsers do. Because most of the people are not interacting with the web via links, right? Are they? So like if you like for a browser, it doesn't really like, and this doesn't need to be added to Firefox again. It could be just like a specialized app that does some cool stuff with some data that is better supported by Gopher and the semantics Gopher supports, in contrast to HTML, for example, right? I mean, it's not that I urgently need it, and text is also fine with me, but okay. I mean, like, okay, it doesn't support Unicode in the RFC. Okay, then just do another RFC that doesn't repeat all this stuff but extends it for Unicode. I mean, not that it is like, I mean, one can do with ASCII for the time being. Okay, it could well be that they also got fancy and tried to put some extensions in that went into the wrong direction, right? If you then again try to do some scripting and code execution or whatever, I mean, it can easily get out of hand, right? I don't know. But like for like HTML, for example, if you have lists, I mean, there's the ordered list and unordered list, but these are not lists of links. And you could, of course, put links into these ordered or unordered lists, but then the problem is it's not clear if these are for navigation or if these are local anchors or whatever. Let's see what I get if I go into. I mean, now I'm looking at some directory listing here, right? In some of the index or item list. But if I'm request, is this like now a normal? Just have a look at one of the resources. Is it 01? Okay, and here I have like an actual resource. Okay, I mean, this could be used for downloading stuff and whatnot. Publishing like a feed. Okay. This is like serving it in multiple file formats. That's like HTTP header content negotiation. I'm a big fan of that. I mean, because that helps a lot for like better systems, for systems that can bootstrap their own semantics. Because what you do is you have any sort of URL, you have a way to resolve it to like a physical machine somehow, and then you look into the either like a convention like index HTML if it is on the web, or like look into the .well-known directory, and in there you have like all of the indications what's available there, and like from there you get to the actual resources and then declare what type they are and what format they are, content negotiation, and from there then you can pick the rendering engine or like visualization you want to put onto this data, and then it would be smart and automatically know to do know what to do with the resources that were discovered via this mechanism. Yeah, but it looks like most graphical interfaces for user interfaces for Gopher are like old. You couldn't likely, I mean, you couldn't compile the code anymore, except you are in some sort of retro old dependencies, outdated systems, maybe with emulation or whatever, virtualization. But it sounds like you are not too sort of not really doing too much with Gopher, or are you? Robert Caillou said that if people compare, like that Gopher initially was gaining more traction and was more popular, but then the web overtook because it could do more things or better things, or did the things better. And I think he's maybe referring to embedded images and stuff like this. Yeah, I think that's what he meant, because it's okay. I mean, maybe it took some time for Mosaic to arrive after the CERN next step implementation. But if Gopher remained on the text mode and didn't do stuff with images, it's of course, and clicking links, right? This is another important thing why people probably preferred the early web system, which also has, like, it's funny, maybe this has like, maybe the web has even has maybe potentially worse lists, maybe, right, than this. Yeah, okay. Yeah, like, I mean, if you say got bored of Gopher, is that because like this particular server doesn't have a lot of interesting material? But like, I mean, why not run some services with this protocol or create new ones that do some interesting stuff? Okay, but I mean, I don't have a lot of time for all of these projects either. I don't even make a lot of progress with a simple CSV parser. Parsing the tabulator characters of Gopher, that's pretty similar, but still I eventually have to complete it. But thanks a lot for showing Gopher to me. I mean, this is sort of my my first actual hands-on encounter. I mean, I've seen some recordings of people doing some stuff with it, but okay. Good to know. Maybe I have to look more into it. Why not? That is sort of interesting, of course. I mean, interesting is I have to keep it in the back of my mind to what is this? Oh, why? Oh, I don't have. Oh, okay. I did something. Okay, what was the issue here? I guess I'm missing like a bracket or something. Illegal start of expression. That is usually because like to watch videos and Gopher doesn't even have a resource. Yeah, but I mean, is that really inherent to the Gopher protocol and its semantics, or could you have a list of paths? Like, I mean, if I pull up the if I navigate through these lists and then eventually I end up at a resource like the text file, but if that would just be binary of like the video file, if my client would just download that and pass it on to either save it to the disk or maybe start a player application, wouldn't that work? I mean, it wouldn't work because of maybe Gopher only supports ASCII and you cannot have like the binary order symbols for binary in the transmission, right? But if you would have a list that links to video files, wouldn't Gopher be able to navigate to these and maybe download these and maybe even pass that on to a video player? Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Okay, so it lacks in the semantics to sort of there are like the semantics lacking in the protocol and the format that allows the server to tell the client that this is now something to save or video of that type to save or playback. And sure, so like it would mess up all of the RFC compliant, standard compliant Gopher clients if you would just send video data. Sure. But like if the video, yeah, sure. If let's imagine we would have a Gopher client which would like just work like all of the other ones, but if it would just look at the data that is retrieved over the network for all of the referenced, let's say, links or resources at the end of a list. And then maybe the client would look into that if there are some magical numbers or format indications in there in the data retrieved itself. If there isn't, it would just display it as a text and probably crash the terminal if there are some binary null terminations and control characters in there. But if it starts with like, you know, for example, if it starts with lower than and question mark in XML, it would already know, oh, this is XML. I don't need to display it, but I pass it on to some parser and visualizer that then looks into the namespace, and then if the namespace is identified, it would pull up the correct application to render it as maybe as a list of person names or something, I don't know. SVG, for example, right? And would know to start the SVG renderer display. Yeah, content type, yeah, or some sort of semantics to tell the client what sort of it's looking at and what it's supposed to do. If the format is all just text, and of course maybe there should be a new RFC that doesn't do some of the fancy Gopher plus stuff. Okay, I don't know what's in there, but like this is like just a little thing, like putting in a MIME type or something. I mean, MIME type isn't that helpful, but something to like MIME type is only for identifying the type of application, but it should be an indicator of the actual format with version and, you know, globally unique. And then there would be some kind of registry where applications are registered that can handle that kind of data that was retrieved. Maybe it's still a mess, but I mean, that would be something neat and useful even to the current day. Yeah. Yeah, and this is one of the big problems, that the files on current operating systems don't have a metadata wrapper or don't come with indication of their own. They're just starting with the bytes, which might be payload or some obscure format, and then the operating system has no clue what it is. And here we have like the file command for heuristically guessing. Some go by file name extension, but this can totally lie, right? Output XML is identified as XML document. Program termination exception Java is identified as a Java source file. Class is identified. It even knows the Java version I'm compiling with, Java 1.8, right? But this is like heuristically looking into the file, looking for magic numbers and stuff like that. But like if all of the files would have some metadata attached by the operating system, that could tell any client, because now the user has to manually decide what app to start, what application to start, what program, and then to open the files, and then it will complain because it doesn't understand doesn't know how to read the format, but instead the file could just say what it needs, and it would automatically download. Like, I mean, of course it would be asked, but it could identify, oh, this is this format, I don't have an application for it installed yet, would you like to install it? Yes, no, or maybe I need a newer version or older version, and all of that sort of like automatically or managed automatically in terms of like infrastructure, operating capability, operating system or hypertext or hypermedia system capability infrastructure that would manage all of these tasks with an engine that basically drives these kind of decisions, data driven by the data you are finding and encountering. So like everybody would be able to publish all kinds of formats of their own, and they would also maybe publish software that can read and understand and render it to some repositories, public and verified Libre licensed repositories. And then if you browse the online system, whatever it might be, it would be able to find the corresponding source code for dealing with almost any kind of format, I guess. But okay, I mean, Gopher is not that system. I have learned. And it's probably more like a joke for starting a new extension for Gopher and RFC. Maybe the Gopher Plus can do it. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is for. Who knows? Okay, but I think I still have... Oh, did it build now? No, it didn't. I just forgot about it. Okay, so let's see. So what's the first thing it complains about? Oh, this is already the... $804. Yeah, because there's like one of the brackets missing. Is it maybe a semicolon at the end? And this is where indentation helps, but I'm not convinced that it will solve my trouble and issue here. Did I save? Did I forget to save and still have the... No, this is the current version. Okay. Okay, but like if this is what Gopher Plus adds, this doesn't sound like terribly complicated, does it? I mean, this sounds like something that could be... there it is. There it is. This reads like it could reasonably simply enough implemented it. But I think, I mean, probably the thing is that nobody invested in doing this late at this time, right? I mean, if there's even no maintained up-to-date current graphical interface for Gopher, then of course Ah, okay, I see. Okay. I mean, okay. If Go for plus is like a contemporary, if that was like suggested back in the day, right? Then of course it's probably not a well designed spec or idea, because people didn't have a lot of, I mean, of course they had like a lot of experience with protocols and low level stuff, but it's not like all of the experience that went in with like web protocol standardization and W3C and RFCs. I mean, RFCs did exist, but I mean, these are like the low level, right? I mean, I can imagine that this got a little bit out of hand, maybe. Who knows? I mean, I don't want to speculate on Gopher stuff, but you know, if it's like a 90s spec, early 90s spec or something, sure. Maybe a 2005 attempt would have looked much more different, you know, with all of the microservices and SOAP and XML RPC and whatever we got since then. A lot of lessons learned in that realm, I guess, since then. Semantics, you know, semantic web wasn't like an idea necessarily explicitly with Gopher and the early web, so a lot of learning went into that. Lots of lessons learned since then. Yeah. I mean, you still need a little bit of parser, but I mean, you always need some for any sort of protocol or format, I guess, right? Like reading protocols and a little bit of network programming, right? I mean, I guess you have to, on the low level, have to interface with your particular operating system to open like a network connection and a network stack programming, right? And then you get the bytes from your network buffer, and then you can decide if you just output the bytes on the bytes onto the terminal, or maybe draw it with some nice fonts and graphical elements or not. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the MIME types, these are like too broad because they only tell what category of application, right? But I would like more specifically resources to tell the system explicitly what exact version and what sort of, you know, what they are, because, you know, MIME type can be pretty general. If you have like, what is it? I don't know, like, what is it? A plain slash text or something? Okay, I mean, okay, I mean, that is sort of like, but I mean, if you'd have like different incompatible versions of some format, then the something that works with MIME types would just pass it to some application that's registered for that MIME type and hope that it hopefully supports the version that was retrieved or encountered, right? And this could be more specific if you just add some more stuff to the MIME type identifier. And then like MIME type, I don't know how you register a new one, but I would like everybody to register to come up with any format they like. Just register a globally unique identifier, and then have a like registry linked to with a repository of software that where people can add their client implementations or whatever, viewers, readers, parser, like even low level function libraries could make use of this and identify what components they need and modules they need. I mean, that's like sort of like a little bit difficult to maintain and build, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, stateless FTP. I mean, FTP are lists to some extent as well, right? Yeah. There's quite a lot of learning going on in the stream. Nothing has to do with like the Java and CSV, but or even with CSV. But I mean, it's always worth looking into like these older alternatives that didn't materialize for some reason, because maybe they can be revived, and maybe there are some lessons in there why they didn't get adopted. I mean, sometimes it's not for technical reasons, right? But okay. Okay. I think like the question is if I should pass all of these to the parse call. Usually that's what I'm supposed to do here, but like but I think I can also, maybe it is a little bit pointless deciding if it needs to go into the constructor, because I'm not going to read a different job file and having another parse call here, but maybe the parser CSV class would be usable without the wrapper workflow main program here. But I think I should leave that to another day because it's already late. Yeah, this cookie mechanism, I don't know. I mean, the cookie mechanism is just like a cookie is just another resource that the browser encounters, and then it sends it back again. I don't know if Gopher can send things, but there could be servers that send you some identifier and they say, please send it back to me via convention or even by demanding it. And maybe Gopher supports that as well, and it would allow you to identify things. And you know, like with the different link, that's absolutely no problem, because if something requests the Gopher list, you could serve the list content for every client that connects with different arbitrarily generated IDs, and somebody wouldn't be able to just follow like a static name that's the same for everyone, but you would need to sort of request a file that has an ID that was particularly assigned on the server side for your session, and it would keep track of all the IDs it sent out, like with 30 days or 1 hour or whatever the lifetime of a cookie is, and then it would register and recognize who's requesting the particular name with the ID it has given out earlier, and then you have like your session with the different link for everyone. Yeah, this is what you are proposing, and it would be easily possible on the server side, right? I mean, it looks maybe strange. Who knows if Gopher clients or Gopher spec would have a convention that says don't display this ID junk to the user, right? Because it's some internal technical tracking thing to make it stateful and a session, like a session thing. Or the server could say you need to keep the connection open if you say that there's ways in Gopher Plus to keep connections open. Yeah, see, now you have your there you go. Now we have like a multimedia system, not necessarily a hypermedia system, but like a multimedia system about the stuff you cared about. And like also I can have my music playlist, monthly mixtape playlist or whatever. So I guess it was worth looking into it. I mean, you are not getting that from the sdf.org server, right? But yeah, maybe you should write some Gopher Plus servers and clients. One good thing is that like protocols like HTTP and Gopher, they don't do code distribution, remote code execution. So you don't have to be too concerned about security. Of course, if you are like downloading some script, saving into disk and executing it on the terminal, okay, that's probably a dangerous thing, but yeah. Really? Are you trying that right now? How? Oh my. Okay. This is unbelievable. I think I killed my terminal session here. I don't know if I still have the... But maybe I can do it from memory. Add a tab. I don't know if I can. I think like this is the problem again, where I don't have a way to write a tabulator character. Can this? Oh yeah, here I get one. Good to know. I mean, maybe SDF doesn't, but just want to... Did it actually enter it? Maybe? Who knows? Oh. Okay, let's do it differently. Let's... Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I was a little bit... Okay. You know, I only got confused because the result of the result retrieved from Gopher was actually formatted with tabs, with like space equivalent tabs, but of course print is escaped. Sure. And what you said, tab and a plus n. Oh wait, no, 70. Okay, did I do something wrong here? Is it just because of the... But this works. No. Oh, no way. I would need to log in again to email. Maybe the, like, what is it called? The command. Oh yeah, there we go. What's the difference here? Isn't this how I wrote it? Printf, of course. Yeah, I don't know. This is like... Sure. You know, like I'm always confused because I mean, usually I would just write it like C, but then who knows? Like shell has sometimes it's extra quirks and tricks, right? I mean, we don't really know if this is supported. Like, I mean, it could be like a compatibility fallback thing that this is a trick for non-Gopher Plus supporting servers to just ignore like a plus in the path. Okay, I mean we would need to look into some special, if they offer some features. I mean, it's you who looked into the spec for the Gopher Plus and the features. Okay, I see. This is like an indicator. I mean, it could be that this does support some Gopher Plus somewhere down in the directory or like structure, list structure, and we would need to actually find a video file or something. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, if it's this easily identifiable visually, that is fine, of course. That is pretty useful. Okay. I don't know if there's a point in. I don't think this is how it works, does it? Okay. I mean, these are a little bit strange here. Maybe these are just separators. Maybe they don't show up in like a actual Gopher client. References to nothing, maybe, right? Yeah, like an empty, maybe something like this. Nice little protocol. Okay, that is quite cool that it is easily usable or demonstratable. It doesn't need, I mean, also works without installing like a big complicated application first, just to get an idea technically of what it is and how it works. But other than that, I guess with like the CSV parsing, I guess I'm going to pass the options to the parser object class some other day, and then use them for the parsing. So lines for item lists. Okay, so then okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. I mean, even visually, it's like sort of pretty. Maybe I is for information or something, right? Or yeah, okay, item. Okay. Like, I mean, this is 7 and 1, but okay, I mean, now we are already almost going to write a parser for it on stream, just because, you know, this is what I do usually in like, or did in the last, since maybe 1 year, 2 years, look into challenges like this, parsing all of this stuff and converting it, or building libraries for it, or writing user interfaces for it. 7 means search. Okay. Yeah, I guess eventually they run out of numbers, and then they need two digits, right? And then that might conflict with entries that start with a number at like a text, but number like numbered table of contents or whatever, right? And then they have to come up with a Gopher Plus that has more separation, better protocol or format design. Are you suggesting that I should go there? And I guess I'm using the, I don't know if this is how it works, because I want to continue claiming that I'm a Gopher Plus client. Okay, maybe after it, or maybe after the tab. Oh no. There's like a limited, no. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, but this didn't work, I guess, right? I mean, there's probably a limited amount of. Maybe just do it the regular Gopher way. Oh, okay. And it also has some different domain here, right? I mean, this is probably indicating I maybe connecting to a different. Yeah, in a proper browser. Yes, exactly. Should we program one? I mean, okay. Let's get rid of the Gopher Plus here, right? And I would also assume that this is not for sdf.org anymore. Yeah, because this doesn't exist here. Maybe it is instructing me to use. Because host must be for something, right? Yes, this looks good, like a regular error message maybe, because I didn't provide it some. No valid keywords, yeah. Enter new search keywords. And this is a search itself as well, but the point is this looks like a, oh no, this is where I'm already at. Okay, I mean, I could look into the help file. I could also take a guess and look if it supports some arguments. Should I look for this one? Oh no. Okay, I mean, let's do the proper and right. Path tab query. Oh, query. You looked into the help file, didn't you? Wait, you said path tab query tab. Oh no, the query is the keyword or search word or keyword. Oh, it did something, yeah. Okay. This looks like matches. This is exactly like Yahoo and Alta Vista and Google, of course. And these are actual URL links, right? Does Gopher also support URLs? Obviously it does, even without Gopher Plus. We are getting some, you know, the commit messages from source control, source code management, commit messages. It is looking for, I mean, there are some error things here, but yeah. Maybe it is looking into its own source code here or something. AOL keyword. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, the point would be to do a stream where this is basically full screen. And now we are playing a round of Gopher all night. Wait a second. Plan 9. Oh my. it's just probably pulling some stuff from your no second tab, but I mean, okay. I mean, does this make a lot of difference? Maybe less errors, or maybe. Yeah, and I guess these are like pretty random matches for whatever got indexed, or maybe there's some priority or whatever. But yeah, I mean, okay. But these are like new domains. But I guess you can just stuck in whatever you have there, right? Maybe I should look for something more reasonable. Just to, oh, here too we get like, see, we get like, oh, they're like text files. These are also like JSON Scott text files. But if I, but this is like actually like a Gopher address, right? I mean, like port 7, like, I mean, it's on URL, but URLs are but on port 70, so this means I guess I don't need to use the search anymore, but instead could go, where is it? Programming AI, no, I want the, oh, this is for like a, maybe I don't want to look into the Amiga, or like, I mean, I get what they are doing here, but so I only need the path would be text file, maybe. Just want to look into the directory and need to change the host. This is something a client could do automatically too if it's encountering URLs. And 70 is at the end. 3 file not found, because maybe the one is like a substructuring thing. Also doesn't work. Maybe I need to go to like a specific one. Yeah, I imagine that. But like the question is, if you put that URL in there, if you're also copying the port 70, or if they also serve it via port 80, right? Or HTTP. Yeah, I'm doing something wrong here. Most likely. I mean, it can't be that I have to repeat the protocol because it's already... Does this v2 mean something? Who knows? Interactive fiction archive. I'm wondering if this is like hypercard stuff. The other... okay. I mean, it fits. I mean, these would be like the people who run this kind of service are most likely the people who would also like be interested in this kind of programming and computing material, right? Yeah, but my attempts here all failed. But text file on the root without the one, that didn't go anywhere. Maybe I did something else, missed something else. Okay, but I mean, this is, I mean, it's not that we are like going to read the text file on. English and German. Pair programming. I mean, some of this looks like, I mean, like somebody's maintaining it. Oh, die Raumzeitlabor. Okay, I know that. There's stuff. I mean, who knows if like the like their crawler or whatever sources they pull for the search index, if they are like just ingesting anything that's sort of like, even if it isn't on Gopher, but okay, but on the other hand, it looks like all of these have Gopher addresses, or maybe they are like regular web addresses, just Gopherized, maybe. Yeah, I mean, sure, like, I mean, could copy them and open, but yeah, I mean, I want to do it in the Gopher way, right? Okay. But I guess, I mean, it's already pretty late here, and the CSV stuff here needs to be continued another day. So I should probably end the stream. I mean, we started from like, I mean, how, like 4 hours ago, roughly, right? Item type, display string. Oh my. I mean, in the end, I'm like, Oh, okay, I see. This is like because you just looked at it a little bit, and so like I guess the yeah, so like this is the index text to read it for like the clickable web URL, copyable web thing, and the corresponding Gopher resource description is below, and I just mixed them up. Yeah, see, like 4 hours, like a little bit of ranting and a little bit of discussing, chatting, and trying different things, looking at things, and then easily you have like all the time. You know, there could be a lot of coding in 4 hours, but I also want to try for some streaming again. I mean, which is highly non-productive, like not very productive, but yeah. I learned something about Gopher and about other things, which is fine. Here I could like see, like this is like an actual argument, or like we are going to use the question mark for arguments, but separate not with ampersand but with space. Yeah, obviously, more or less, roughly. Yeah. If I could get if I could get the CSV parser working, I could also parse item type, display string, tab, and so on, right? So there's an actual reason to implement it eventually. Yes. Okay, but like, I mean, that's maybe. Don't worry, I'm not giving up yet. Maybe tomorrow or like somewhere else on a weekend or next week. Just continue, hopefully with more speed, but yeah. I also have to look into your, watch your video about the Flash game and see how that works. A lot to do. Okay, thank you very much for attending again. And then until next time, I would say. Good night. Okay, so let's see.